Hello, this is 808 Bows. Liliana speaking here. I'll be talking about three different princesses, and the first one will be Cinderella in the 1950s, Princess Mulan in the 1990s, and Princess Moana in the 2000s. I will share to you one similarity and differences between the three princesses, but first I would like to share to you their stories. So the first princess that I have is Princess Cinderella in the 1950s. She is a dreamer who is trapped within a stepfamily who doesn't love nor appreciate her. Enslaved by her evil stepmother and stepsisters, Cinderella dreams of going to the ball and meeting the prince with the help of a few mice friends and her fairy godmother. When Cinderella arrived to the ball, the prince rejected every girl until he saw Cinderella. They spent the evening together and fell in love. However, when the clock struck at 12, Cinderella flew away from the castle, dropping one glass slipper. The prince doesn't know her name and finds the slipper that she left behind. So the Grand Duke was ordered to go to every house, and whichever girl could fit the glass slipper would marry the prince. The Duke finally found Cinderella, brought her back to the castle, and she married the prince and lived happily ever after. In this story, Cinderella's personality is kind, sweet, caring, good-hearted, and a dreamer. An example would be when her stepmother and stepsisters would demand her to do some chores at home. She would obey and respect their wishes without fighting back or complaining. Another example would be how she treats her mice friends by protecting Gus from Lucifer. I've also realized that she's very optimistic and she's very proper the way that she talks to people. For instance, when she asked her stepmother if she could attend to the ball, she said please and thank you, and didn't seem like she had any doubts about what her stepmother had said to her about tending to the ball. Cinderella represents a white ideal woman in the 1950s because she wears an housewife outfit, which includes an apron. She has her hair and face done. The stereotype of woman looks was having an hourglass, skinny look, and always looking beautiful. Being beautiful was supposed to attract your Prince Charming. This leads up to expectations of hoping to have love at first sight. In the Cinderella movie, she sings, "So this is love." This scene is where the prince first laid his eyes on Cinderella. They spent quality time that night, and that's when they discovered that they both are in love with each other. As for the ideal love story in the 1950s, they were trying to follow the American dream, which is to end up being married with the person that you love at a very young age and having your own family. And so for Cinderella, she was able to find love at the ball, and her Prince Charming came looking for her, and they ended up marrying each other at the end. The ideal wedding was to have a white ball gown and a wedding headpiece, and then the guy just wears like a nice suit. The next Disney princess is Mulan in 1998. Disney creating a Chinese princess has really given a step forward for Disney, and not only did they include it in a different ethnicity, they also made this character be known as a hero than just waiting on love or finding a male partner. Mulan is the only child in her family, and her job is to become a good and obedient wife in the future, and so she is getting tested by a matchmaker who determines if she has the honorable title in her family. However, she fails. The Hans came over to invade China, and this resulted the army to require one male from each family to join the army. Mulan's father was the only male in the family, but he was too physically weak to fight, and so Mulan secretly impersonated a male and joined the army by impersonating a male figure. However, if anyone finds out that Mulan was a woman training and fighting the battles, she would be killed. Knowing that Mulan has prayed to her ancestor to protect her, she successfully went through training and gained respect from the captain. After training, she fought her first battle against Hans and she rescued her captain. However, she got cut pretty badly, and this is when they discovered that she was a woman. The captain decided not to kill her because she saved his life in battle, but the troop left her in the snow. The troop thinks that they killed Hans, but Mulan saw that Hans is still alive. She went to the Emperor of China to warn them, but they didn't listen or believed her because she was a woman. Hans arrived and she killed him and saved China. Because she was able to save China, she was honored by the emperor and she was able to earn the honor for her family. In the movie, Mulan's personality is courageous, determined, clumsy, and independent. Mulan is determined because in the beginning of her training, she was weak and she couldn't physically do the things that the men were doing, but she has proven herself to accomplish that by being the only one who could reach the sword on the top of the pole. Mulan is creative because she was able to cause an avalanche in her first battle, and also in the second fight was she thought of having her guy friends turn into a woman for a distraction in battle. In the beginning of the movie, she was clumsy of not doing what her gender role is supposed to be doing, which was to be known as being a good and obedient wife, from passing her test through the matchmaker. In the 1990s in China, the ideal woman look was having large eyes, a small nose, and being petite frame. Also, your face has to be as pale as possible to be considered attractive. Mulan does represent the ideal woman in the 1990s because in the beginning of the movie, she was getting ready for the matchmaker and she puts on this full face makeup with really white foundation that makes her skin super pale. In the movie, the ideal of love was having a matchmaker to match a husband for you, but in that time in the 1990s in China, it wasn't a big thing to do the matchmaking. In China, you would want to marry someone who had a similar social and economic status as you, if not that, then like a little bit wealthier. This verse song that I pointed out, it says, I'm not meant to play the part. Now I see that if I were to be myself, I would break my family heart. Well, this kind of like shows that she's following her intuition, and even if it means to break the gender culture. Lastly, this is Princess Moana in 2010. She is a Polynesian woman and she is very drawn to the ocean, and the goal of the movie is to save the island and her people by returning the lost heart of Te Fiti. They want to achieve this by finding Maui and his hook to save the world. Princess Moana is bold, headstrong, determined, fearless, strong-willed, courageous, curious, adventurous, and focused. When Moana sails out beyond the reef by herself and figuring out how to use the boat, you can tell that she is independent, adventurous, and courageous. Moana is strong mentally and physically. In one scene, she demanded Maui to return the heart of Te Fiti. Princess Moana is a leader by being encouraging and empathetic to Maui and Te Fiti. In the scene where Maui was telling his story, her advice to Maui was that the gods didn't make him Maui, he made himself who he is, which is Maui. As for Te Fiti, Moana saying, "Know who you are." In the lyrics, it says, "They have stolen the heart from inside you, but this does not define you. This is not who you are, and you know who you are." And so this calmed down Te Fiti, and she was able to restore the heart. Princess Moana represents a step forward for women in the new millennium because she doesn't find love. She follows her dreams and aspires to the woman that she wants to become. In 2010, the ideal woman would be treated equally as men. In the movie, the women and men shared equal duties in the island as like sewing, fetching, catching. Like currently women have more independency and freedom to choose who they want to be. For appearances, she looks more realistic. She has a very slender yet muscular build and a very natural beauty look. For mannerism, I think she's more demanding than polite compared to Cinderella. Like, she doesn't say please or thank you. She like demands like, "You will restore the heart of Te Fiti." One similarity that all the princesses have is they have a sidekick animal that's with them. So for Cinderella, there's always the mices. In Mulan, there was a dragon and a bug. And for Moana, there was the pig and the chicken. Having the animals in the princesses movie are supposed to show love and respect for the animals, and also the animals were a guide for the princesses. A concern this might have is not being capable of being alone in situations because you need guidance. It gives a sense of security and company when going to places. So this kind of defeats the purpose of being independent. So for example, Cinderella's friend Mices goes help her sew up a dress for the ball. And then for Mulan, the dragon guides her how to say certain things to men as she disguises being a guy. As for Moana, she mostly grew up with the pig as a friend growing up, but as she went off beyond the reef, she had the chicken, but that was by accident actually, having a chicken on the boat. The chicken wasn't a guidance, it was actually pretty useless. The chicken was only there for the ride. So I think Moana represents more independency and it's not as concerning as the earlier princesses movies. Speaking of differences, I think one of the biggest differences throughout the Disney movies is the gender role. For instance, the physical look of Cinderella, she looked Caucasian. She had really big blue eyes, small waist, and a super skinny figure, and she was always put together with a very beautiful face. The gender norm for women was to do the cleaning and sewing and are expected to be beautiful and elegant, and they were most likely housewives, so they would dress in an apron. So Cinderella was basically like a housewife to her stepmothers and sisters. At that time, the goal was to achieve their dream by finding true love. Whereas Mulan, they started to add more ethnicity. So, like, instead of just focusing on Caucasian princesses, we started adding mixed ethnicity. So, Mulan was Chinese, and they did follow some of the Chinese norms. However, you get to see for the first time that a woman can be a hero instead of the men. This is stepping towards the right direction because it steps out of the woman's gender norms and it's given them a woman idol and honor that men usually get. So, as you see in this scene at the end of the movie, Mulan is being bowed down to from the emperor and the people of China because she saved the world, or she saved China from Hans. This really gave a huge change in gender role because at that time it was only men who could fight in the war, and Mulan has proven the point that women can fight in the war too. As for Moana, the gender norms, everyone is treated equally, and the main character Moana character plays a very independent role where she doesn't need to find love. She actually goes out and goes for her dreams and aspire for who she wants to be. And this is a great step for the new generation because it influenced them to follow their dreams and not have to rely on anyone to make it happen. Basically, to be your own leader. Hi, Disney. I think you're doing a great job making the new Disney princesses, and I would like the representation of being independent, following your own dreams to keep the same. I do think you make princesses extremely beautiful, but I don't think it's good for our society and for our younger generation to look at because it can distort body images. But in your movie Moana, we do see progress of having a more realistic body. What I would like to see more in Disney is representing more of LGBTQ communities and representing more of a realistic body type. The new Disney princess that I want to represent is creative, brave, independent, self-motivated. Appearances that I would like to see in a princess is a princess who wears glasses, has a really short hair, and her hair is colored, and having to wear casual clothing. This princess is very smart. She enjoys creating and innovating new technology. Her goal is to build robots that will help the human race. She does have a real crush on her friend who she's known for a long time, and works with her, but has been too scared to tell her how she really feels about her. The princess has successfully created a robot, but this robot turned into an evil one. This evil robot attacks people and destroys the land. The robot grabbed her friend, who was her crush, and locked her up in a room. Her creativity and knowledge was able to stop the robot by decoding the program. When she saved her friend, she gave the princess a surprise kiss. This will reshape our perception of love and relationship because it shows that we can be with the same sex. On behalf of 808 Bows, thank you for watching, and now signing off.